All right, Katie, so you want to tell me a little bit about your lesson that you have planned for tomorrow?
Yeah, so I'm going to switch it up a little bit for tomorrow and have you observe a fluency lesson with Kaya.
Okay.
Over the past few weeks, we've done some different things with fluency. I had her read a few informative texts, passages out loud for me. And then last week, we kind of transitioned into the Reader's Theater texts. And I decided to choose one that was Disney based because she's such a Disney fan. So we're doing this story, it's Cinderella, and it's like the real story of Cinderella.
Yeah.
It's essentially like Cinderella is not the victim in the story, the sisters and the stepmother were. So I'm doing a lot of really positive things with this text based off of conference I had with Dr. Lee. I'm also working it in with some comprehension moves like modeling and things. So what I'm noticing is with this second excerpt that we're working from this week, Kaya, there's from verses last week, there was a lot more inaccuracies in her reading. So I wanted to go through and I marked down yesterday all of the different words that were inaccurate. And I went through and I asked Kaya afterwards, do you know these words? And she was telling me yes for certain words and no for other words. Some were simple mistakes, like for lending, she was reading the word leading, but something like reasonable, she kept just saying responsible. So we had to kind of talk about that. We have been practicing breaking down words into separate syllables. So something we did today was I've been having her practice do this. Doing this anytime we come across a word that needs to be kind of sounded out, she sounds out the first part and then just guesses the second part. So we've been really working on clapping out syllables and breaking it down with dashes, and it's helping her with her decoding. So we'll review that tomorrow. And then the other thing that I noticed today is she did so much better with her accuracy today because we did that. So we'll just kind of quickly review those trouble words tomorrow before reading. But the expression is really lacking because she's still trying to get a hold of that accuracy piece. So I prepped her today and said, like when we're doing these reader theaters and we're switching between the voices back and forth, what skill are we really looking to practice? And expression. So I really want her to work on her expression tomorrow and do a little bit better with her expression. And I'm going to be modeling a reading first through, and then I'm going to be modeling certain lines and asking her to repeat those lines back, mimicking my expression.
So you've recently transitioned into Reader's Theater. You're working on that what was it called? Cinderella story. I think it's awesome that you're breaking those words down into syllables, and that's really helped. I think that's a great strategy, and I'm glad that that's working for you. And I think that reviewing those beforehand will also help her. So your focus that you are working on for tomorrow's lesson is expression.
Yes.
So if you're thinking about expression, tell me a little bit more about how you could maybe get her engaged in using expression and using while she is reading.
I think the text itself is pretty engaging because you almost have to take on these personas of the different characters. And she was having fun doing that last week. Thinking about it in the moment now, we've been working with character traits, and we did a great lesson today on character traits, which was very successful with her. So I can really play into those character traits tomorrow when I'm modeling the expression and say, you said that when Cinderella said this, she was really rude yesterday. So let me hear your best rude voice. So that I think would be helpful in maybe getting her a little bit more engaged.
So what I'm hearing is that to get her engaged, I hear you're going to be modeling, and I know that it's been our talk in the previous, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. What will it look like if Kaya's still having a hard time using her expression while reading?
Just repetition. And that's something that I talked about with Dr. Lee. Dr. Lee and I have been saying with a student like Kaya, sometimes it's just repetition. And after so much repetition and maybe, that thinking out loud,
Mhm.
that's when the pieces are starting to fit together in her brain and
Yeah.
she's starting to remember. I did the dialogue lesson with her
Mhm,
yesterday to
that's
teach
nice.
into that. And I did modeling with her, and you know, it was just repetition. Every time she was moving something over, it was like, well, the quotation marks tell me. And at the end, when I asked her the question, it wasn't a long wait time. It was quotation marks tell me
Yeah.
it's dialogue, you know? So it's just that repetition piece with her and just having her practice over and over.
Okay, awesome. And in terms of data collection, what are you thinking then in that sense?
So yeah, if you could just focus in on my modeling
Okay.
tomorrow, because I did want to give you a lesson that I knew going into today that was going to be model heavy.
Okay.
And that's something that I've really been trying to do with her expressions. So I would just say, if you could just note down times
Yep.
when I'm modeling, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah, I can do that.
And just, you know, maybe like tallies or
Yeah.
like just like a brief description.
Yeah. Okay, so you would like me to collect data on your modeling with expression, whether it's tallies and then just describing what you're doing then.
Yeah.
Okay. I can
And
do that.
yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think so. This sounds like a good lesson. I'm really excited. I'm glad to hear that, you're polling like the dialogue and then doing that vocabulary beforehand and reviewing those words. I think this will be a good lesson.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right, thank you
Yeah.
so much.